Hello, this is Candy with eyes2jesus.blogspot.com, and welcome to Thanksgiving with Eyes to Jesus 2022. So my Thanksgiving videos always last for 2 days worth. So this is Wednesday, Thanksgiving Eve, and then of course tomorrow is Thanksgiving Day. And I spend most or all day Wednesday cooking and preparing for Thanksgiving. And this way I am not working all throughout Thanksgiving and being exhausted. I actually get to enjoy the festivities. So we usually have quite a crowd, and this year so far is no exception. So I am getting started. So the first thing I'm working on the feast is sweet potato casserole. So I have 4 sweet potatoes here, and I am going to just get these peeled and cubed and then put into some water that I'm heating up here and get it boiling so that I can get these sweet potatoes cooked. Alright, so I have the sweet potatoes boiling in this pot behind me, and I have the oven preheating to 350 degrees. So meanwhile, while that's going, I'm going to get started on one of my most favorite pies in the world, and that is a coconut custard pie. Now I will not be making a pie crust because this recipe makes its own crust. So in my bowl here I put in 2 cups of milk. To that I'm going to add 1 cup of white sugar, a half cup of flour. This is the main thing that's going to make its own crust. Then I need a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and that empties out that bottle. And then you want a good handful of shredded coconut. This is unsweetened. When I can't find unsweetened, I will use sweetened. Then we're going to need 4 eggs, because recall this is custard, coconut custard pie, so you got to have your eggs. Okay, and then you need 1 stick of soft butter, or a half cup of soft butter. Now, I'm breaking up the eggs, and I'm breaking up that butter and spreading it around. And I'm going to get this all whisked together. So I'll need to whisk this for a few minutes. And once it's all whisked together, it'll be very liquidy. But it's also going to be clumpy, because there's going to be little butter clumps in there, and there's going to be clumps of shredded coconut floating around in there. So once I have this mixed together with my whisk, then I will pour it into my buttered pie pan, and then that will be ready to go into the oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit to cook for 50 minutes. And the sweet potatoes are done boiling. They are nice and soft, so I just drained them, and now I'm just going to pop them into my mixer bowl for my KitchenAid mixer. Oops, a few more there. And let's get this popped on into my mixer. I love my mixer. I've had it for so many years. And I'm going to do this attachment. And I'm going to let this get them all mashed up. So continuing on with working on the sweet potato casserole, I have my mashed up cooked sweet potatoes here in this bowl. So to that I'm going to add 1 cup of white sugar, then a half a cup of whole milk, and 1/3 stick of soft butter, a half a teaspoon of salt. I like to use fine pink Himalayan sea salt as my main salt, 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and 2 eggs. Now I'm going to get this back into my KitchenAid mixer. So let's pop it back into the stand here. So the sweet potato mixture is all mixed together, and I popped it into this buttered pan. So now it's time for the toppings. So I'm going to start with my clean hands with some brown sugar. And and I don't measure this, I just eyeball it to what looks good. I am just going to sprinkle a beautiful little blanket or layer of brown sugar on top. Okay, next comes the mini marshmallows. Now this is a fairly big bag. The bags that are a bit smaller, usually the whole bag can go on. This bag is bigger, so I expect there will be a bit left over. And then we'll probably just snack and munch on the leftover marshmallows later today, frankly. But again, I don't really measure the marshmallows. I am just putting them on top until we have a nice, fat, fluffy layer of white marshmallows on top. So I just got to get the edges here. Okay, and then I'm going to be popping this into my 350-degree Fahrenheit oven, and this is going to bake for a half hour. The coconut custard pie and the sweet potato casserole are both baking in the oven behind me. I am working on cranberry cobbler. So in the square baking dish, I buttered it, and then I just popped in a whole bag of fresh Ocean Spray cranberries. And on top of that, I'm going to put on 3/4 cup of sugar, so I'm going to do this 1/4 cup at a time to make sure that it really gets spread around nicely. And this always looks so pretty and wintry. Okay, and then on top of that, I'm going to do a half cup of nuts. It can be nuts of your choice. I'm going to do sliced almonds, but a lot of people also like to do pecans. And I need to get to work on the batter for the cobbler. Back to my handy dandy KitchenAid mixer. So of course I cleaned the bowl and the whisk attachment. And I just now beat 2 eggs, just beat them until they were fluffy. And then I'm going to get this going at a slower speed, and then while it's mixing, I'm going to gradually pour in another 3/4 cup of white sugar, and then I'm going to put in 1 whole stick of butter. And then I'm going to get that all mixed together, and that's going to be making the batter. So in case I forgot to say, there was also 3/4 cup of flour being gradually added into that batter as my KitchenAid mixture was mixing it. So the batter is all mixed together, so I just popped it out and glopped it on top. I'm not going to worry about spreading it. I just glop it on top because it's going to spread itself and work out just fine in the oven. So my coconut custard pie just came out of the oven. I have that off to the side here cooling. The sweet potato casserole is still in the oven. I am now going to pop in the cranberry cobbler into the oven, 350 degrees for 50 minutes. And my 16-year-old Miss Rachel is making a pumpkin pie. So I have here the recipe. So she's doing 1 can of pumpkin, 1 cup of evaporated milk, 1/2 cup flour, 1/2 cup sugar, 1 tablespoon soft butter, 1/4 teaspoon of ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of cloves, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2 eggs. Then she's going to mix it all together, and we have a graham cracker crust pie pan there. She is going to pour it into that and then bake it at 350 degrees for 50 minutes. Right, so yes, coconut custard pie on the counter cooling. Next to it, the sweet potato casserole is now out and cooling. It looks like the cranberry cobbler is going to have another 1 to 6 minutes or so, so I'll be checking that soon. Meanwhile, my daughter is off here to the side. She is making a homemade pie crust for a cherry pie that she's going to be making here in a little bit. And she's just following a recipe for a flaky, buttery pie crust that she looked up online. So she's working on that off to the side. And I'm working on a cheesy bacon potato casserole. So in this very large bowl, I have 6 medium russet potatoes, peeled, washed, and cubed into bite sizes. And I just chopped up a whole white onion and popped that into there. Now I have on my cutting board in front of me 7 slices of cooked bacon. So I'm going to cut up these this cooked bacon into little bite-sized pieces and add that into the bowl next. And the cranberry cobbler just came out of the oven, so I kind of have a lineup of things in front of me cooling down. So adding to my big bowl for my cheesy bacon potato casserole, I'm going to put in 1 cup of mayonnaise, Then we want a half cup of sour cream. And then we want 1 teaspoon of salt. This is a half teaspoon measure, so I'll do 2 of those. And then we want a half teaspoon of ground black pepper. And then just a couple of good handfuls of shredded cheese, just whatever type you'd like. Today I am using mild cheddar cheese. Now I need to get this all mixed together. So I now have our mixture poured here into a buttered pan. I'm going to stick this in the oven like this, and it'll get more work later. But for now, this baby's going in 350 degrees for 1 hour and 20 minutes. So the pumpkin pie just came out of the oven, and what I'm working on right now is broccoli marinade, and I am just cutting up several slices of cooked bacon into bite-sized pieces. And then here in the bowl next to me, I chopped up and put in 3 heads of broccoli, and I chopped up an onion. So now I'm going to add this bacon, and then I need to add in some raisins. I have the bacon added. I'm going to add in a half cup of raisins. While you hear the background sound of my dog getting a drink of water. Alright, now I'm going to get all this mixed together, and then I'm going to set this off to the side, and I'm going to make the marinade, or the dressing for this broccoli marinade / broccoli salad. So in this bowl here, I have 2 cups of mayonnaise. To that, I'm adding a half cup of white sugar, and then 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, and I like to use raw organic. There we go. And then I'm going to give that a good mix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this mixed together. It'll make a nice creamy mixture. And then once this is well mixed together, I will introduce it to the broccoli mixture and then get that all mixed together. And then that just needs to go into the refrigerator overnight, and then it'll marinate overnight, and then tomorrow it'll be fabulous. This is one of my very favorite dishes. So now I have begun the bread stuffing. So I don't use any fancy breads. What I do is really cheap, really easy, but it actually turns out really good. So I just have a cheap, like the cheapest loaf of white bread that you can get from Walmart. And I toasted 12 slices. And then I am just cutting them into cubes and popping them into this bowl. So I just 2 slices of toast together. And you want to slice gently because you don't want to squish the toast together. You want them to stay as cubes. And I use a serrated bread knife to cube it, and it works out really well. So continuing on with the stuffing, I just now finished sauteing some celery and onions. So I sauteed 4 stalks of diced celery, I diced up a whole onion, and I sauteed them in a whole stick of butter. So now I'm going to very gently pour that on top of my cubed toasted bread mixture. And then I'm going to very gently, because I don't want to squish down the cubed toast, I'm going to very gently just kind of mix that in. To finish off the stuffing, I just need to add the seasoning. So I'm going to start with a half teaspoon of ground black pepper. And then we're going to do a teaspoon and a half of salt, so I'm going to do 3 half teaspoons. And again, I like to use the fine pink Himalayan sea salt. And then also 1½ teaspoons of ground sage. And again, I'm going to do 3 half teaspoons. Okay. And again, I'm just going to gently mix this together. And then once it is well mixed, I'm going to just move this to a nicer serving container, one that can handle being in the oven for warming this up tomorrow. And then my stuffing will be done and ready to go into the fridge. The cheesy potato bacon casserole just came out of the oven from its hour and 20-minute bake. So the next step I need to do is I'm going to grab more of that shredded mild cheddar cheese. And I don't really measure this, I just kind of sprinkle it on top. So I'm going to do a nice layer of cheese on top. Okay. And then on top of that, I just chopped up 3 slices of cooked bacon. So now I'm going to disperse that on top. And then I chopped up some scallions, maybe about a 1/4 cup's worth or a little bit more than 1/4 cup worth. And I am going to sprinkle that on top. Alright, now this is going to go back into the oven 350 degrees for 10 minutes. And then this will be done. Moving on to making a loaf of homemade bread. This is going to be a gift for someone. So in my KitchenAid mixer bowl here, I put in 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast, 1½ cups of warm water, and a tablespoon of raw honey. So to that, I am going to add a ½ teaspoon of salt, and then about a teaspoon to a ½ teaspoon-ish of oil. I like to use grapeseed oil. And then we're going to put in 3 cups of white flour. Then I'm going to get this going into my KitchenAid mixer. I'm going to use my dough hook attachment, get it all mixed together and knead it. And it is all done being mixed and kneaded in my KitchenAid bowl here, my mixer. So now what I'm going to do is I got my buttered bread loaf pan and I got some grapeseed oil. So I'm going to pour, it's going to drizzle a little bit on top and down the sides. And then I am rubbing the oil on the surface of the flour, of the dough. This is so that I can work with the dough without it just sticking to my hand. So I get it all over the outside of the dough ball. So now I can pick it up and it's not a problem. Alright, and that's all I need to do is get this formed here into a nice gluten ball. And then into the bread pan, I like to kind of knuckle it down and in there. And I take it out and flip it over. And that way the pretty side, the smooth side, is on top. So I'm going to just set a towel over this and set this to the side. And this dough is going to raise for an hour. And then after that, I will bake it. I'm making some homemade blueberry jam. Some of it's going to be for us, and then also a jar of it is going to be for a gift to go with that homemade bread that I'm making. So in this pan in front of me, I just put in 2 cups of frozen blueberries, and then I set it on medium to high heat. And then I just kept mashing it down and stirring it until it was kind of a lumpy mush. So that's where we're at now. So now to that, I love how I make this jam. I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of chia seeds. And then 2 tablespoons of pure maple syrup, the real stuff, not the fake sugary stuff. And then 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. And then to that, we're going to do a ½ teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. Now I'm going to get this all mixed together. All that mixed in, and then I just let this sit here for 5 minutes. Now, 5 minutes later, it's thickened up a bit. It's still a bit thin, and that's okay. It's going to thicken up even more as it sits more. But now it's ready to move into jars. So it's going to fill a couple of these nice small jars here. So one will be for me, and the other one is going to be a gift. So I'm going to fill these jars and then pop them into the fridge. And now I am working on tomorrow's breakfast. So I buttered a baking pan here, and I'm going to prepare a pan here of baked pecan French toast, and then this will be baked for tomorrow. So I'm going to prep it and then pop it in the fridge. Tomorrow morning I will stick this in the oven, bake it, and then we'll have a nice breakfast. So in this buttered pan, I'm going to begin by putting in 1 stick of melted butter. There's a butter layer that kind of sits there at the bottom. And then I have 3/4 cup of brown sugar. I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle the 3/4 cup of brown sugar evenly over the butter layer. tablespoons of cinnamon. This is a half tablespoon measure, so I will do this twice. So I'll do half the tablespoon on the first half, then the other half tablespoon on the second half. And then I chopped up some pecans. I didn't really measure. I just took a small handful and then I chopped them small here on my cutting board. So now I'm just going to sprinkle these chopped pecans in there. So now I'm going to layer some bread in here. I'm going to do one layer first of 6 slices of bread. So 3 across on the top, 3 across on the bottom. And this will be double thick French toast. So now I'm going to do a second layer of bread on top. There doesn't need to be anything in between the slices because there's going to be a nice egg mixture that's going to soak in, and it'll soak down through both layers of bread. So there we go, 12 slices of bread in there. And now for the egg part, because this is French toast. So in my bowl here, I'm going to put in 6 eggs. Then I'm just going to use my whisk and I'm just going to break this up and beat them a bit. And then I am going to put in a half cup of whole milk. And just a few dashes of salt. Get that all whisked together. Alright, so after I have this all whisked together, I'm just going to pour this on top of the French toast here. And then I'm going to cover this over and put it into the fridge. And then tomorrow morning, first thing I'll do when I get up is before I do my regular morning routine, I'll get this going so that this will be cooking while I'm handling animals and all that fun stuff. And I'll get this going at 350 degrees and have it bake for 30 minutes. And that will be our Thanksgiving breakfast. And the bread has finished rising. So I just preheated the oven to 375 degrees and this is going to go in there for 30 minutes and then this bread will be done. Alright, so my daughter is working on the cherry pie and then she's going to make some mashed potatoes. I just got the bread out of the oven and I'm working on dishes. Good morning and happy Thanksgiving. Here is the pecan French toast, getting ready to serve it out for Thanksgiving breakfast. Happy Thanksgiving. We're getting the festivities started. Are they here? Are the babies coming in? Yeah. Are you so excited you have to be on a leash for a few minutes, huh? Yeah. Did you want to say some stuff for the camera?
Are the babies coming for you to take care of?
Yeah, are you going to see the babies? Are the babies here? Yeah. Do you like seeing the babies?
Gotcha, gotcha.
Are the babies here?
Gotcha, gotcha.
Go down, girl. Here we go.
All right.
You could just, we could just set the plate.
Joseph's never messed with the scratch card before.
I didn't know that was what it was.
Oh, okay.
I thought
Scratch it still. Winners and more. In fact, you're rewarded.
I have to sit if I don't mess with it for a while.
Yummy, yum.
You know, but I also have it set so that when it's plugged in the AC and I close the lid, it keeps going because I just plugged in the HDMI cable.
Yeah. She's trying to say she wants out.
No, I'm genuinely being serious. Do not play it with them.
Hamster turkey. Oh, she likes her turkey. And this is baby Winston. It's a little tiny baby bunny. He's 15 weeks old. Look at that little baby. Are you going to reveal the white paw? Behold the white paw. It's a cute baby.